Welcome to Candlelit Blowjobs, an intimate experience between two cousins. Brandon,
And Lewis.
sit back, light the candles.
And try some of those bath salts.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of a special show. A show where my cousin and I, it's just us, it's special. We keep it within the family. And that,
Again, we gotta reiterate, it's special.
it's special. And that is Candlelit Blowjobs. So if this is the first time you're listening, this is a special show again where it's just my cousin and I. There will never be a third person. This is just more it's more of a quiet endeavor. And we might be going
I don't know about you, but I ain't quiet. Sorry.
Why does everything have to be sexual? This is great. I'm a moaner. So we might be going not only into movies, but TV shows, and who knows, maybe in the future we'll be going into other stuff, maybe like anime or books or something. It's, who knows. But today,
Dr. Jones!
Dr. Jones, we are going to be reviewing, or I don't know about reviewing, but talking about
Dr. Jones! All the way.
The Indiana Jones trilogy. And that's right, you heard me right, trilogy, not quadrilogy. We'll
leave that one for another episode.
Yeah, we'll leave Kingdom of the Crystal Skull for a special episode with our main dude, William. We're going to be doing Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade, which is the final one in the trilogy, until like 20 years later.
Yeah.
When this... I thought you were... I looked over at my girlfriend. I thought she was recording me. That was weird. I was like, what are you doing? All right, so where do you want to start with Indiana Jones?
Let's
by
start
the
with
way,
Raiders, dude. Raiders, 100%.
Okay, before we get into Raiders, I actually have never seen I know we're only talking about the three movies, but it just came up in my mind because I saw Last Crusade like a couple weeks ago. And the movie starts with a flashback when Indy is a 12-year-old or 13-year-old kid.
Yes.
Played by the late River Phoenix.
Yes.
And it reminded me that there's a show.
Young Indiana Jones.
The Young Indiana Jones Adventures.
Yes, it is a fantastic show.
I've actually never seen it. I've heard it's fantastic.
It's great. It's really fun. It is more of a childhood adventure story. The tale of say like a Robinson Crusoe, Swiss Family Robinson.
Okay.
It's kind of more family oriented, and it gives you depictions of history throughout.
That's cool. Yeah.
But it goes through different eras. So it goes through like his childhood era, through his early teens, and then his late teens, which is really cool.
I was reading up on the show. Didn't at one point the teen version was so popular that they just stopped doing anything with the child version? Like they just continued on with like the teen point of view of the show? Cool. It's not streaming on anywhere, and I don't know how expensive it is to...
I bought it a long time ago, and it was pretty expensive. It was hard to find back then. And they had a box set with all three seasons or collections.
It's cool because I read up that like even Harrison Ford does a cameo in the show, right?
Yeah.
That's
and what's his face from Last Crusade, the dad.
Sean Connery?
Yeah, Sean Connery comes out.
That's awesome. That's super cool.
I
definitely have to check
like a quick cameo, and it's like only him. So they probably just inserted a shot of him.
Yeah, isn't that the same thing for Harrison Ford? He's not like in the show per se. It's just like a quick hey, I play Indiana Jones when he's an adult, and then like they show him for like a second, and then he kind of goes on his way or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a flash forward type of thing, and it connects to one of the movies or something. I haven't seen it in a while, so I can't tell you for sure.
If you're listening in and you haven't put it together by now, my cousin and I love Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah, seriously.
They are such fun movies. I actually have a point-and-click adventure game on my Steam account on PC. Called Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. It's like a point-and-click in like the early 90s. I've actually never... I've played like 40 minutes of it, and that's because the game's not bad per se. It's just that point and click adventures are super counterintuitive, and like you have to do things that you wouldn't think is natural. Like this item will do this, and you're like, but that doesn't make sense. But one day I want to go back because anything Indiana Jones I want to take in because it's like those pulp adventures, like the.
Oh, but it's so fun. It's
Yes.
done with such an amazing way because it's Harrison Ford in his prime,
Yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's Harrison Ford having fun with the role, which is interesting because there's a lot of serial movies and stuff like that that are very similar to this. Jewel of the Nile and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
they're you can't take them serious because there's something missing in it, and these films capture what's missing in those films. It
Yeah.
adds like this extra layer to it between the music by John Williams, of course, Spielberg directing it, the story of Lucas, and
Lucas,
all
yeah.
these guys putting together in their prime these
Can
films.
you imagine if Lucas would have directed those movies?
Oh god, it would have been atrocious.
Oh my god, dude. No offense to Lucas. Like, because honestly, if you
All right, Lucas is a good producer and storyteller. I will
like
give him that.
I'll say this. The original Star Wars, or as it's called now, A New Hope, is not a bad movie. He directed that one. That's a good movie. American Graffiti, that's a good movie.
No, it is not.
I like American Graffiti.
Oh god, that is a horrible movie.
Well, that's for another day. But
Horrible.
like the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, no bueno.
No, not
they're
at all.
not at all. So I wonder how different the Indiana Jones films would have been if Lucas directed them instead of Spielberg.
Put it this way.
God, that would have been bad.
The best part of the Star Wars trilogy are the ones that Lucas did not direct. And funny enough, Raiders of the Lost Ark is written by Lawrence Kasdan. He's the writer
one that
of
wrote
Empire.
Yeah, Empire Strikes
So
Back, which
that
they came
in
out like
itself-
a year
Yeah.
from each other, right? Something like
Yeah.
that.
It's incredible because that movie, you could tell like it's written by an amazing writer. And 100%, like Raiders of the Lost Ark goes so smooth, and it's just such an awesome movie to watch at any point in your life. And even for today's standards, the special effects are pretty on point. Like
There's definitely a couple things that like they haven't aged well.
like what?
I guess like practically it's cool, but like the spoilers. Fuck you if you haven't seen this movie. It's been a long time already. Like at the end when they open up the Ark of the Covenant, and
I thought that was actually well done. I thought it was
maybe at the time, but now you look at it and you're like, oh, okay. I'm not saying it's bad, but like it's dated.
I don't think so. I thought it was like it still holds up to today's standards if you watch it and you actually like sit and watch it. The effects are meant to not serious, and the way that they do it, they kind of play it into the background, so it's not like this overbearing special effects. It just kind of fades into the background, which is cool.
How about in the opening sequence of Raiders, which is honestly probably one of the most iconic scenes in movie history, which is when he's getting the idol and then the giant boulder starts following him. There's a part where he gets taken there by what's his actor's name? Sean Molina. Alfred Molina.
Yeah, he did the dude from Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, he plays Doc Ock in Sam Raimi in the second Sam Raimi film. He leads Indy in there and then basically leaves him there to die. Basically, he's like, haha, you got me in here. And then basically when Indy comes back out, Alfred Molina's character had triggered a booby trap and it kills him.
Yeah.
And I remember that the special effects of his body of like I think he was impaled by spikes or something like that.
Yeah, and through one of his cheeks too.
Yeah, it does not look that great. Or
are you kidding? I love that.
So?
Oh yeah, I love it. The cool thing is that it's all practical. I remember watching this.
Definitely practical.
They re-released this film in '91, And I remember watching it. My dad took me to the theaters to watch it, and I
Oh my
became
god.
obsessed with these movies. I owned
So,
all of them on VHS before Hurricane Andrew, and I watched all of them on repeat, like
yeah,
constant.
those got destroyed, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like this started my passion for these type of films, and this was
Yes.
probably one of my biggest introduction was Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was the first one that I watched, and it's my favorite out of both of them.
Oh, it is definitely of the three. It's definitely the best for
Yeah,
sure. Hands
and
down.
then the scene with the what do you call it, the diggers digging in Cairo, and you see the sun setting in the background, and it's all like this
Yes.
yellow silhouette,
Mm-hmm.
orange yellow silhouette, and oh my god, that scene is just breathtaking, dude.
Yeah.
It is amazing. That
It's so uh so let's get into Raiders. So for anyone that hasn't seen it, again, shame on you. If you're listening, you've probably seen it. Raiders or Indiana Jones is about a professor by day, archaeologist by night. But
hold
he's
on,
like
hold
a
on, hold on, hold on. Before you go on, we
yeah,
gotta talk about that one scene in Raiders where he's in the classroom teaching, and this girl is flickering her eyes, and she has
yeah.
written on there "I love you" in her eyelids. And it's
So
just freaking great. It's so cornball. It's just it works so well with Harrison Ford, and his reactions are just
it's like,
priceless.
what the hell? So, like I was saying, he's a professor by day, super, super smart professor, archaeologist by night, but like not only like your typical archaeologist, like he's a badass. He's willing to like kill people but not like in a bad way. Like if they get in his way, if they're bad people and stuff like that for the good of a find to put it somewhere safe and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, and Raiders is basically, by the way, the entire franchise minus the one that we're not talking about today take place during the 30s. Uh,
Yes.
so basically, in Raiders, the Nazis are trying to uncover the Ark of the Covenant. They're trying
Yes.
to find it, and of
With the
course,
help of Belloc,
yeah,
which sounds
which
like somebody from Lord of the Rings.
it kind of does. You know, it's when you said that, I thought of Melloc
Yeah.
or whatever he says, speak friend and enter when they go
Yeah.
into Moria. But yeah, basically the Nazis are trying to find the Ark of the Covenant, but the thing is that people think it's a fairy tale, that it's not real.
Yep.
But it's supposed to bring, is it like everlasting life? Do they ever say that? Or is it
No,
like
it's supposed to
knowledge?
unleash the wrath of God, which is
The wrath
basically
of God. That's it.
giving the power that hold the army that holds the Ark of the Covenant is unstoppable. It
Basically.
destroys anything that it opens up to. So it
Which,
lays waste to anybody
yeah.
that's in front of that army.
Which, if you know anything about history, the Nazis weren't they into like what's that
Oh,
shit called?
super occult stuff.
Occult
Like
stuff. That
it
stuff. That's
was
another word I was looking for. Thank
Hitler
you.
started up its own like department in the I think it was 1928 before he was
Yeah.
even prime minister.
Hmm.
And what do you call it? He actually started a department inside the not inside the German military, and
Yeah.
all they did was researching the occult and what they could do and how they can use this to their abilities and all that stuff. It's a fascinating,
Yeah.
fascinating thing.
So basically, Indy meets up with an old fling of his, Marion,
Oh, Marion.
uh, because she has a this medallion that they need to put on top of a scepter,
Yep.
like a staff, basically to pinpoint the exact location of the Ark of the Covenant. And so begins their adventure. And of course, they do find the Ark of the Covenant by the end of the film.
With
Uh,
so many trials and tribulations,
yeah,
including
exactly. There are
snakes,
super cool scenes, like
monkeys.
the monkey when the guy starts swinging his sword and Indy takes
Ah,
his gun and just shoots him. Which cool
that
thing
was
about that
all
scene?
impromptu.
Yeah, that was all impromptu because the day of shooting that scene, Harrison Ford actually had stomach virus. He had been throwing up the night before, like, and he just the guy they start doing the scene. The guy takes out his sword, starts like swinging it around, and they were supposed to have a sword fight. But
Yeah,
Harrison Ford was like, fuck this. I'm not in the mood for this shit.
yeah.
And he takes out his gun and he just fires it. And I guess Spielberg was like, yes. that is exactly what Indy would do, and they just went with it. And so yeah, they get the Ark of the Covenant by the end of the movie, and the Nazis take Marion and Indy prisoner to this remote island, and they decide to open the Ark of the Covenant. And another one of the most, I would say that's probably the most iconic scene in the entire film. When they open it. By the way, you're still there, right? You got
yes. I'm
okay.
here.
Okay. When they open it, and these like spirits start coming out of the Ark of the Covenant, and
Which, I'm sorry. Before you go into that,
go ahead.
there's a fun little trivia that I've compiled together for this.
Okay.
It's really funny when you look, if you freeze frame the first scene of the Well of Souls scene, you could actually notice engraved R2-D2 and C-3PO from Star Wars.
Yes,
the pillars.
Yes, I think I've seen that. Yeah. They're on
and
the actual
really,
Ark of the
really
Covenant,
tiny,
right?
but it's really cool. And also a little like behind the scenes stuff that they actually bring this up in the documentary of on the DVDs and Blu-rays.
Mm-hmm.
And when they actually released all the snakes and stuff like that, one of the what do you call it, the crew members actually got bit, and
Wow.
the snake wouldn't let go, so he had to take the snake with him all the way to the hospital to try to get it surgically taken off. And
They're like in the middle of nowhere, probably, right?
well, they were actually in I forgot where it was. I don't remember what it was, but it took them like almost an hour and a half to get to the hospital.
Wow. Were they
So,
actually filming anywhere near Egypt or no?
I don't remember seeing that in the documentary, but that was incredible. I was like, oh my god, serious, poor guy.
Yeah. So as I was saying, they open the Ark of the Covenant. These spirits start coming out, and refresh my memory. What are the archaeologist that's working for the Nazis? What's his name?
That's Belloc.
And then what's the other guy? The one that Marion hates.
That's Belloc. That's Belloc.
Okay. No. Okay. Let me rephrase that. Sorry. The guy with the glasses with the top hat. The one that Marion burns with the medallion.
Oh, oh, god damn it. That's
He touches the medallion. It's super hot, and he's like, ah, and he like lets it go. You remember that scene?
creepy looking guy.
Yeah, let's say the creepy dude.
God,
So
I can't remember his name.
the creepy dude and Belloc are the two main antagonists of the film. And basically, they open the thing. The spirits start coming on. They're like, "This is amazing." And Indy tells Marion, "Close your eyes, don't look." And basically, they're like, "Ha!" And then like, what is it that comes out? Like it's like a spirit, but it looks like demonic, right?
Yeah.
And then basically, like, Belloc starts like screaming, and then like his face starts melting, and then his head just
so great
explodes. Oh yeah, and the basically the spirits, whenever they would go through someone, it would instantly kill them.
Yeah, which was really, really cool.
Yeah, and it ends with basically the Ark of the Covenant kills everyone on the island except Indy and Marion, and
because they closed their eyes.
Yeah, because they closed their eyes and they basically didn't look at God.
His name is Toth.
Toth, gotcha, thank you.
It's Ronald Lacey. Yeah.
And basically the Covenant closes itself, and they get off the island, and Indy takes it back, and the movie ends with basically it shows that they have taken the Covenant to Area 51, and they're
it's not Area 51.
Yeah, it is actually. It is.
It's not Area 51.
Yes, it is. They. I know we're not supposed to be talking about this movie, but in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it's Area 51. That's where he's at.
Is it?
Yeah, there's a sequence when in the beginning of the movie.
Well, I know in that one, but I thought this was like in Washington D.C. because that's where they said that they were.
No. Let me look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's
like in Raiders at the end. It says Washington D.C. and then it shows them wheeling the cart into the warehouse, but it said Washington D.C.
Yeah, look. So this is straight off of Wikipedia. In Washington, D.C., the Army intelligence agents informed Jones and Marcus Brody that the Ark is someplace safe and will be studied by quote-unquote top men. The Ark is then shown being stored in a giant government warehouse, Hangar 51, among countless similar crates.
Okay. All right.
Area 51. I guess, and it is implied that basically anything of fantastic or spiritual, like occult stuff, are stored in that in Area 51 for whatever reason.
Yeah. Eh.
So yeah, Raiders is great.
Oh, I
Everything.
love it.
It's such a
This
fun
is
ride.
it's definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. This is in my
Yeah.
top I think 15 movies.
Of all time. Damn.
Yeah, no, top 10 actually. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is definitely top 10 for me. It's an amazing movie. Raiders is by far my favorite of the Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
You know,
They
Temple of Doom is the
honest,
next one, but
they honestly get worse. Each iteration is worse than the last, but I'm not saying that any of them are bad by any stretch of the imagination. It's just they definitely lose some of the magic as the movies progress. So
yeah, agreed.
I would give the same thing, 10 for Raiders. Raiders is excellent. I would watch that movie any day. It's very good. It's very, very good.
Yes. So let's go on to the next one.
Next one, Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
This one is actually technically it's the second movie, but it actually takes place before Raiders.
Yes, it does. And it actually, for the first time, it coins the phrase Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
That is actually true. Yeah, so this is that. Okay, and another fun fact: this is the movie that created PG-13.
Yes, it did.
For the Kalima Shaktite
yeah.
Scene, which I showed my girlfriend that movie recently, and she was like, "What the hell?" And
She's
I'm like,
never seen Temple of Doom?
Had you seen Temple of Doom before we watched it? You'd never seen it? You've seen some of them though, right?
Blasphemy.
She doesn't remember. She doesn't remember which one, but I'll definitely show her all for it. But I don't know why I was like, I didn't want to see Raiders that day. I was like, oh, I saw Raiders recently, so I watched Temple of Doom with her. And when she saw that scene, when the antagonist takes out the guy's heart, which is that scene is hardcore.
Oh, dude, it is great. Are you kidding?
That scene is hardcore. Like it's one thing about Temple of Doom is it is insane the jump from lightheartedness in Raiders to Temple of Doom, which is super dark.
I love because that. All right, Raiders is more classic, fun adventure, and
what the hell is that?
Hold on a second. What's the alarm?
That? Of what?
In the house. Somebody just walked in, but didn't put the delay on.
Oh, I'm like, what is that, dude? Or, I was like, what the hell? Say it, you were saying. I'm sorry.
All right, so the what do you call it? The Raiders has like this classic adventure story and all that stuff, and then Temple of Doom has this. Well, I'm sorry, Raiders has this goofy, cheesy humor to it, and then Temple of Doom has this very dark, sadistic humor to it, which is very interesting. And then it goes and it evolves in each movie, the kind of humor that it has. And even in Last Crusade, you get that same kind of dry British humor, which is.
But I feel like they kind of reverted back to the Raiders humor with the Last Crusade.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of more like, oh, let me drink my scotch and make fun of the young people type of humor.
God, Sean Connery's character is such an asshole. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Great. Yeah, but all right, we got to do short round. This man this little kid is brilliant in this.
Yeah. So short round is Data from not Data. Is it Data from the Goonies? What's his name in the Goonies?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, Data. Yeah.
It is Data, right? Yeah. The Asian kid, basically, the one that makes all the weird, quirky like gadgets and stuff in Goonies. He plays a young Chinese boy by the name of Short Round. He has no name. I guess that's his name according to Indy.
Yeah, Short Round.
Short Round. So the movie starts with Indy's in China, and basically he is at this club, and basically he's delivering this ancient like Ming Dynasty like ashes to these to these Chinese like gangsters. Of course, he's not delivering it to them. He's trying to like get money from them and then like dip without giving them the
Basically.
actual ashes. But it goes horribly wrong, and he has to fight his way out of there. Which, when he impales that dude with the flaming spike, and the guy's like, ah, and starts like firing. I was like, this is ridiculous.
And there's brilliant cameos by Dan Aykroyd in there.
Yes, when I saw Dan Aykroyd, I was like, whoa, I didn't remember him being in this movie. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and Philip Stone, which we've brought him up a couple episodes ago. He's the what do you call it? The guy from The Shining.
Yes.
Which is hilarious. I'm like, oh my god, that's too weird.
Yeah, so basically the beginning of the movie doesn't really matter too much in the grand scheme of the film. It's just to kind of show Indy meeting what's her name? Billy? Is it?
Billy,
Willie.
yeah.
Willie Scott.
Same thing.
Yeah, who is a singer, actress, whatever. And basically they get on a plane, all three of them, to get out of there. And the plane, ironically, is being piloted by two of the Chinese gangsters, like henchmen. But they don't know this. And they proceed to basically take all the parachutes. They jump out of the plane and they leave Indy, Willie, and Short Round to basically crash and die with the plane. Yep. Of course, miraculously, they get out. You know, they do this crazy thing where they inflate a raft in the middle of the air, which is a load of horse shit, but whatever.
Hey, that was still pretty cool. All right.
Yeah,
now this is gonna play into when we actually review Crystal Skull. All right. These movies are meant to be fun, enjoyable.
Yes, they're definitely
un paquete, como dicen lo cubano. Hispanics call it paquete, which is basically like this over exaggeration of.
It's definitely not. It's not plausible, but it's fun. It's like you have to have a sense of disbelief.
Yeah.
When it comes to these movies, they're definitely going to do things that you're like, yeah, bullshit that a person would be able to get away with this. It's like, at the end of the day, it's an action movie. It's a fun adventure. Just take it for what it is, you know?
Exactly.
But, so when they crash, they are not where they want to be, and they're somewhere in India, right?
Yes.
In India, yeah. And they come across this village that has been decimated. Like, there's no greenery, there's nothing. And the head of the village basically says that all their children are gone. And that someone has stolen this stone that is super, super important. That when it is taken, basically everything goes to shit. So
funny thing about the guy in the village, he actually didn't speak English at all. He was actually mimicking what Spielberg was telling him to say.
Really? I didn't know that at all.
Actually, most of the cast that was in India are actually Indian descent. They're all like, I think there's one or two that were not of Indian descent in the whole thing of of India that play Indians. Yeah, which is pretty incredible.
That's funny. I didn't know that. Fun fact about movies. That's incredible to think that like they're like, I don't speak a lick of this language. Let me just, mimic whatever the director's telling me to say. That's funny. So basically, all three of them go to the what is it? The little boy, what's his name called? Like he's a what is it called? Like he's like an emperor, but not really an emperor. That sounds a little bit too much.
He's the crown prince, basically.
Yeah. And basically they get there and they have this giant lunch, which is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It's ridiculous. They bring out like snakes and they cut the snake open and the snake has babies inside of it. And then this guy's like eating beetles and shit. And my girlfriend was watching. She was like, this is disgusting. And I was like, yep.
And then the best part.
What, the chilled monkey brains?
Yeah, chilled monkey brains.
No, my favorite's when like Willie sees everything. She's like, oh my God. And her and Short Round are like, what the hell is this? And then she asked one of the waiters, she's like, or one of the maids or whatever, she's like, do you have anything lighter, like a soup? And he's like, yes, I'll bring you soup. And he proceeds to bring her a soup with like eyeballs in it. It's just so ridiculous.
Oh, but it's great. And then we continue on with the bugs in another scene, which
Oh
Actually,
my
he
god.
was actually covered with 2,000 bugs.
Dude, I would have shat myself.
And she,
I
the
hate
the funny thing is
bugs.
though, like they kept trying to film the scene, and she would wig out, so they actually had to give her a sedative prior to the scene.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah, as my cousin was saying, basically they stay the night, and this guy tries to kill Indy, and then they go into these catacombs, and there's a scene where basically Willie is covered in, like he said, like what is it, 2,000 bugs?
Yeah, 2,000 bugs. Yeah.
2,000. That's a lot, and some of them are like not small bugs.
No,
They're
these
like
suckers are big.
big bugs, and they proceed to get into this massive cavern, and they're seeing this like cult, and they see the leader of the thuggies. That's what they're called. What a name. The Thuggy cult, which I wonder if that's real, because it actually is a link. It is actually a cult. Oh my god,
Oh,
that's hilarious.
wow.
That's actually a real thing. Sorry if that what's the word I'm looking for? Shit. I don't want to be mean. I don't want to be insensitive. I forgot the word that I'm looking for, so I'll say offensive. I didn't want to offend anybody. Thank you, Carla.
Uh-huh.
Um, so basically, they come up on this cavern. They see this thuggy, the leader of this thuggy cult, and he has this young boy. And basically, this is, in my opinion, the most iconic scene of the movie, where the guy proceeds to chant Kalima Shaktite, and he takes the kid's heart out.
Yes.
And
Which is
they
awesome.
they descend him into a pit of fire, into a pit of lava, and the
Yeah.
kid burns up and dies. And
No. He doesn't just burn up and die. He gets consumed in fire.
Yeah,
And
consumed,
slowly melts away, which is
yeah,
freaking awesome.
and then his heart, which the antagonist is holding in his hand, bursts into flames and stuff like that. And
So cool.
it's ridiculous. So that scene, like we were saying before, was the reason that because I think they were gonna rate the movie rated R, but Spielberg asked the MPAA, why don't you make something in between PG and R? Because the movie's not that violent.
It's not. It's only one scene in it.
That scene is
If
pretty
Raiders would have
hardcore.
come out 3 years later, they would have put the face melting scene to add to the PG-13.
Yeah, exactly. And basically, yeah, they catch the three of them, and they make Indy drink this nasty blood, and he turns into an asshole, into a bad guy. And
Which,
yeah, go ahead.
all right, so this is something I just read this on IMDb, and this is hilarious. Well, and I'm reading right off of IMDb. While filming the whipping scene, the crew played a practical joke on Harrison Ford. While he was chained to a large stone, Barbara Streisand appeared dressed in leather dominatrix outfit. She proceeded to whip him, saying, "That's for Hanover Street, the worst movie I ever saw." She continued whipping him for Star Wars A New Hope and making all of that money. Carrie Fisher then threw herself in front of Ford to protect him, and Irving Kershner chided director Steven Spielberg, "Is this how you run your movies? This entire sequence was filmed." I want to see this. I want to see this now.
I would love to find that somewhere, because that sounds hilarious.
Just to see Barbara Streisand dressed as a dominatrix, that's worth it in itself.
God, that's weird, dude. I wonder if like anyone was whipped by accident, like on the set of these movies.
Oh, probably.
Because Jesus, man,
Dude, let me tell you, that shit hurts.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't,
bro.
You know, it could cut you.
Yeah, that shit legit open up like your skin easily.
Yeah, that shit will like straight up cut you, like leave a deep, deep gash, depending on how hard they do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, they basically find out that the kid, the one that was like the like the little prince or whatever, I'll call him a prince.
Yeah.
He has drank the blood, so he's basically under this like hypnosis. That part's really weird. I never understood that part. Like, what is this blood that makes them like
It's supposed to be
go crazy,
like
or not go crazy, but be evil?
it's supposed to be drugged, and then while you're drinking the drugged blood, you're supposed to be drugged yourself. So it kind of does like this weird effect, kind of like hallucinogenic and kind
Mm,
of easily susceptible to things. That's how they explain it, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
okay, all right,
All
cool,
right.
sure,
So yeah, basically, to speed it up a little bit, they eventually snap Indy out of it. They snap the little prince out of it, and they get all the children out of this cave, which basically the thuggy leader is making the kids dig for one of the stones, because
yes,
there's 5 stones in the world, and 3 of them are accounted for. 2 of them have been lost,
yes,
and he's making them dig for it. But basically, they break the kids out, and then the climax of the film is that they're on a drawbridge. Not even a drawbridge, a rope bridge. And
that scene is so well done too.
yeah,
It's one of those like these films have a thing that when you start watching them, you literally white knuckling the whole time watching it because it gets you so tense and so like into it that it's
yes,
ridiculous.
yeah, and basically there's no way out. All 3 of them are surrounded on both sides by the thuggy people, and basically Indy cuts the rope bridge,
Yep.
and it falls, and a lot of them fall and into the water where there are alligators and whatnot. By the way, can I ask you something about film in general? What is it about the Wilhelm scream or the Howie scream? Why is it that so many filmmakers use that like specific scream? Is it like a running joke in film?
Yeah, it became that in the like 60s.
Because
But
every
honestly,
time
in
I
the
hear it,
50s,
I'm like, oh my! Mind you, the Wilhelm scream is definitely the more used of the 2.
yeah,
I don't know. Do you know the Howie scream?
yeah, I've heard it before too. It's literally just a running joke. It's literally
Mm.
just a running joke at this point, and it's basically like using those sound effects, and since it sounds so good that
Mhm.
people used it so much in movies that it became a joke because the 50s in the 1950s, mind you, the studio system was releasing about I think it was 8 to 9 movies a week. Okay, eight
What?
to nine movies a week. All right, it's a lot higher than it is now, and that was all throughout the 1950s.
Wow,
And
that's
that's
ridiculous.
why theaters became such a huge thing, and why they were making so much money because it was cheap to go watch a movie. So they did. Everybody went to watch movies, and then they had these B films, then they had these C films and D films that were released in theaters and released after the A films. So
Hmm.
all these movies were getting mass produced and they didn't want to make new sound effects. So they kept using the same sound effects for certain things. So they kept
Interesting.
doing it. And it became a joke to directors that grew up watching these movies, and they make it in their movies because it's stupid and comedic now. And of course, you're making a serial of the 1930s. You're going to put that in there because why the hell not?
Interesting. I'm trying to find out when was the first time they used the Wilhelm scream.
Oh, I don't know, but
Uh,
actually, the Willie's character, she had to learn how to scream. So there was
oh,
a
1951. I'm sorry to interrupt you. The movie's called
there you go,
Distant Drums.
there you go.
Yeah, that's the
That's
first
funny.
time they used the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, 1950s. Like I said, it
Yeah,
was a staple of
1951.
the 1950s.
That's
And
funny.
then Willie actually had a coach that was teaching her how to scream, so she could scream that like iconic scream that she does in the film.
Yeah, like the kind of like a scream queen from like a horror film, like those
Yeah.
chicks that scream a lot. Yeah. One of my favorite scenes, which we kind of, I guess we're talking about the plot, and we just went over it. I love the scene when they're about to go to sleep, and Willie's like, basically they insinuate to each other that they want to sleep with each other,
Yeah.
but they're both super hard headed.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna go to my room, and you're gonna come here in 5 minutes. And she's like, you're gonna be here in 5 minutes, and it's super ridiculous. I love that scene so
And then
much.
it keeps cutting back and forth between the rooms. It's just brilliant. And it ends with one of the most iconic scenes ever filmed, in my opinion. And this is a shot that I completely, completely love. And it is a Spielberg shot 100%. It's
Which one?
above the fan, shooting downwards and seeing all the action going on. It's an old film noir trick. And
Oh,
Spielberg,
like him walking around the room, right? And it's
yeah.
filming.
And
Yeah.
it's shot above the fan, so you see the fan turning around and all that stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
that is brilliant. And it's been actually, if you look up Spielberg films and you notice it, it's been in almost about 80 to 90% of his films. They have
I'm
that.
gonna have to look out for that now in the next Spielberg movie I see.
Oh, Spielberg loves pushing the envelope with certain shots. And
Interesting.
another thing about Spielberg that is fascinating and why the studios are so lax with him and giving him money and basically the freedom to do with what he wants is, first of all, Spielberg runs a tight ship. That man's schedule stays on schedule 100% of the time. It's ridiculous. The man shoots these films in 3 weeks to 4 weeks max.
Wow,
With,
really?
yes, that man is like the epitome of a genius. He sets up the storyboards and he goes, "This is what I want. This is how I'm going to put it." And the guy is such a visionary when it comes to this that he actually knows exactly where he's going to place the camera ahead of time. So by the time he gets to the film set, he's like, "Okay, like in certain examples of Krasinski and his main DPs that he uses all the time, they've worked with him so many times that they know where he wants the camera. So they literally set up the camera and they go, "Is this what you want? Yes. Okay, let's go." And if you notice, Spielberg's films are all done by the same people. Michael Kahn is the editor, which actually, until Minority Report, he was still using the Studebaker flatbeds to edit.
Wow.
And you're talking about masterpieces like Jurassic Park, E.T., all these films were edited on flatbeds.
Can we
Okay?
talk about how good Minority Report is? My
Oh,
God,
hell yeah. Yeah.
that movie's fantastic. Sorry, I just love that. I think that's honestly one of my favorite Spielberg movies. I don't know why.
Really?
I really like Minority Report. I remember
Wow.
seeing it in
Okay.
theaters when it came out, and when I came out, I was probably like, movie came out like 2002.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
I
2001 or two.
was I was 11, and I remember being like super super like just engrossed with it. And then I've seen it now as an adult, and I'm like, yeah, this movie holds up really well. It's a really good movie.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it really is.
most-
But I mean, for example, this is Douglas Schlomby, something like that, as the
Mhm.
director of photography. But he used him for all three of the Indiana Jones films. So Spielberg sticks with certain people, and
Yeah.
he stays with them.
What is
Like
it? If
they work
it
with him.
ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and since he
Yes.
has that, I mean, Michael Cann. You look at Michael Cann's like filmography,
Hmm.
and he's literally the editor on pretty much all his films. I mean, even to Ready Player One, the the BFG, all the way down to his first one was sorry,
No, you're good.
but yeah, I mean, he uses them. Close Encounters was the first one that he edited for Spielberg, and
Oh, okay.
after that,
Wow.
he was literally the editor for every single Spielberg film. Every single Spielberg film.
Hmm.
Imagine that. That man is a genius. And then, what do you call it? John Williams is pretty much the composer for all his films. So this
Williams
man
is a
has.
visionary, dude. That man is. Jeez. That man's music is like ridiculous.
Oh yeah, but I mean Spielberg. That's the thing, though. Spielberg, people so underappreciate him. But when you think of a director, what's the first person that comes to your mind? It's Spielberg.
Spielberg.
Why? Because of the blockbuster. He invented the blockbuster movie.
Yes, he
He
did.
perfected it. He made it. And Indiana Jones trilogy is the perfection of that. I mean, he literally took the blockbuster film and made it his bitch with this series.
Yeah.
It's incredible, and the fact that anybody underappreciates this director for what he's done to cinema in general
Yeah.
is ridiculous. Just because he directs blockbuster movies doesn't make him any less of a director than
Yeah.
the masters like Kubrick and everybody else.
I agree.
I have my problems with Spielberg in other senses, mostly because he took credit for Kubrick's work on AI, but that's my own little personal vendetta, and I hold nothing against him for the other films, the other masterpieces that he's brought to film.
Yeah. That's interesting. Awesome. So yeah, basically, the movie ends. Basically, they kill the bad guy. Hooray! And they bring all the children back, which I love that scene when they walk in
Yeah,
and all the kids run in to the village, and the village is green again. Like they bring back the stone, and again, like the first movie, the stone is something. The occult. It's fantastical. Like there's always something in these movies that is definitely otherworldly,
yeah.
spiritual, or whatnot. And yeah, the movie ends basically with them in the village and happy ever after. Not really, but whatever. My man is like James Bond.
Yeah.
He just goes from woman to woman.
Hey, no. Marion will always be the woman.
No, yeah,
I'm
Marion is
sorry.
always his number one. But like, you didn't know that until Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
No, you knew him all the way, bro. There's no way. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No. Yeah. No. Nope.
So we come up
Always.
on the final movie of the trilogy, which is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Which look at this, man. This film trilogy started in 81 and then ends in 89. So it opens and ends the 80s.
That's actually a good point. I've never thought of it that way. Yeah.
That's perfection, man. How much better can you get than opening and capping the 80s with this trilogy? And then you have what do you call it, Back to the Future in there too. Oh.
No, but didn't Back to the Future Part 3 come out in like 90?
I think so. But
yeah, actually,
that's besides the point.
Fuck you, man. No. Fuck you for being right. Yeah, so Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade starts off with a flashback to the early
1990. Sorry. I had to interject.
No, you're fine.
So it ended. Look at that. They're all three in the 80s technically, because 90s still 80s, guys. Shut up.
Oh, fuck off. Yeah, so The Last Crusade starts with a flashback to 1912 to be exact, with a young Indy who is a Boy Scout. Yes, he is actually a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
I'm reading up on the Wikipedia. I'm like, is he a Boy Scout or is this like something different? But no, it's a Boy Scout. And basically he comes across this little group of guys that are digging
Ruffians.
and find
Ruffians.
Huh? Yeah, rough. These guys that are like grave diggers, basically.
Yeah.
And they find this cross of belonging to Coronado.
Yeah, Coronado.
And Indy takes it from them and proceeds to run, and they start chasing him, and there's this entire chase sequence on a train. And it's funny seeing this because at this point, I don't know what happens from then till Raiders or Temple, since Temple's the first one, that Indy has this he's utterly terrified of snakes.
Yeah.
But in this sequence, he's not.
Yeah.
He's not scared at all.
It actually happens, and they go over it in the Adventures of Young Indiana Jones. But you're forgetting the best part of this whole sequence is the fact that it's played by River Phoenix.
Yes, River Phoenix plays young Indiana Jones, the late River Phoenix.
Yes.
Wasn't this like right before he died?
Yes, it was.
A year or two before? No.
Yeah.
I was about to say nice. That's horrible. Not nice. Sorry. Yeah, so they chase him through this train that has a bunch of animals on it because it's a circus. And basically Indy gets off the train with the cross, goes home and tells his dad, I have this cross. And his dad's like, count to 10. And he's like, Dad. And he's like, count to 10. And then the bad guys show up, the ruffians, as my cousin calls them. And they basically, the sheriff forces Indy to give the cross to them.
Yeah.
And
Michael Byrne. which
Yeah.
is phenomenal. Vogel play. That's the name of the character. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're all brought on by one of the greatest villains of all three of the movies. Come on. Walter Donovan, that's played by Julian Glover. Oh my god.
Wait,
Yes, this
wait,
man is brilliant in this
which
role.
one is it? Oh yeah, Junior. Yeah, Julian. Yeah. Well, no, this is before that.
Well,
Remember?
the whole
rem-
protagonist of the movie is
No,
Julian
no, no,
Glover.
no. Yeah, the antagonist. Yeah. Not. But I'm
Whatever,
talking
you know what I
about.
meant.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the guy in the white hat in the beginning of the movie. That basically. So this entire little sequence leads up to the leader of this little gang gives Indy the fedora, and he
Yes.
tells Indy, you basically tells him like you lost the battle, but like and you don't have to like it. Just keep fighting. And then it cuts back to present day, and Indy's on this boat fighting the same white fedora dude, the bad guy that was like the leader of that gang.
Yeah.
And the ship blows up, but he has the cross again. He has the Coronado cross, and he donates it to Marcus, his friend.
Oh, Marcus Brody.
Marcus
Oh,
Brody, God, I love that character so much.
God,
He's such
he's so
an idiot.
cool. He's so
He's such an
awesome.
idiot.
He's that underdog that you never expected to be a badass, but is such a badass. And he just plays this dorky professor that you wouldn't think is anything of this world, but it's the character that you identify with in this movie, and you kind of fall into you fall prey to him being your eyes into the movie. It's really cool.
So Indy goes back home, and basically he's told by these bodyguards to go see their boss, which is, like my cousin said, the antagonist of the film, which is Walter Donovan, played by
Antagonist.
huh?
The antagonist.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Oh no, I thought you had seen that.
No, what is that? I'm sorry, I didn't. No. You gotta explain it to me now, bud.
He's a YouTube personality. Oh my god, I blanked out. Mr. Plankett.
Mr. Blanket. That sounds so familiar.
Oh, he's brilliant. He does like these skits that he's a serial killer and stuff like that. But instead of antagonist and protagonist, he goes the protagonist
Oh, the protagonist.
and the
Yeah,
antagonist.
yeah,
It's freaking
protagonist. Yeah.
hilarious.
So, basically, he tells Indy that he has the half of this tablet, and he needs Indy to find the second half because this tablet supposedly leads to the what is it,
Holy Grail.
the Holy Grail, the cup that Jesus used in the Last Supper.
Yeah.
And
Which is something his father has been obsessed with since the beginning of time.
yes, and basically he's like, why don't you ask my dad and stuff like that? Like, he's obsessed with this, and he's like, I have. He's the one who's gone missing. So basically, yeah, he meets this like German girl, this blonde German
Elsa,
girl.
not from
Elsa.
Frozen.
That's cute. Sorry, my girlfriend just showed me this really adorable little fluffy dog.
Is it Elsa?
No, I'm recording. Damn it! Stop. I'm kidding. So he meets Elsa, and basically they find the first clue in the bottom of this library in Venice.
It's a clue.
Yeah, it's a clue. And basically they get chased out of the catacombs, which for
Catacombs?
whatever. Tomato. For some odd reason, these catacombs are filled with what is it? Oil? It is
Yes,
oil.
Oil.
It is oil. So they light them on fire and they get out somehow. They are able to swim through oil. That sounds like it hurt your eyes. You tried to open
just a little bit.
just a little bit, right? So Elsa and Indy get out and they get chased down by these guys, and they proceed to find out that these guys are this like secret order that basically protects the Holy Grail. If anyone tries to find it, they basically stop them from finding it by killing them or whatnot.
Yeah, which actually plays this really cool part in that one scene where they're coming out of out of the church and all that. That was
Hmm.
really cool, and that's probably one of my favorite scenes is when they come out of that church.
Yeah. And basically they go to a castle. Elsa and Indy go to a castle because they find out that his dad is being held there. And they
Yes,
go there, and I love that. The entire sequence in the castle is fantastic.
yes, it is. Oh,
And then I
yeah.
love the beginning when he switches clothes with Elsa to look like he's like a Scottish prince,
Yeah.
and he's like, "You're no prince," and he's like, "Man, shut up!" And he backhands the shit out of the butler and like knocks him out. And then he finds his dad, who is played by none other than Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, the man that literally told Barbara Walters that he's okay with beating his wife.
Wow.
He did actually. I'm not joking around. Go on YouTube, find that shit.
Wow.
Yeah, Barbara Walters is like, so you're saying it's okay to hit your wife? He's like, if she's asking for it, she's asking for it. I'm like, damn,
Wow.
dude, savage.
We do not condone that.
No, not at all. I just find it hilarious that he's like so adamant about it. He's like, yeah, I am who I am. So basically, Indy and his dad do not have a good relationship.
Not at all.
None whatsoever. He calls him Junior, and he hates that shit.
Still.
He's like, stop calling me Junior. And yeah, they basically they get captured, and they find out that Elsa's a bad guy.
Yep.
So is Donovan. And they find out also that Elsa slept with
Yes.
Indy and his dad.
In the most brilliant way possible, too. Oh, God. That scene is just, it's the epitome of the most awkward conversation that you will ever imagine. And it's played so well for so many laughs. It's great.
Yeah. And yeah, basically they get captured, they leave them there, and they leave them tied up together, and Indy slips the lighter to his dad, and he's like, burn the rope. And his dad proceeds to drop the lighter and light everything on fire in the room. And then one of my favorite scenes was like they find out that there is a trap door.
Yeah.
And the Nazi official, the woman sees them and she's like, alarm! And like everyone's alerted to them and they're just like, oh shit, let's get out of here. And yeah, they get out, and then there's this really cool like motorcycle sequence where they're being chased. And
oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
no, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is probably one of my least favorite out of the three. I never watched it when I was a kid, so it was something that never really, like, I didn't watch it until I was an adult. So it's
interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think actually you made me watch it. You and your dad made me watch it.
I might have. I don't remember that, but I'll take your word for it. So basically, they beat the Nazis, and they come to a conclusion. They're like, we need to go to Berlin because Elsa has the diary.
Yes.
That has everything that leads to the Holy Grail.
Yep.
So they're going into the heart of Germany, in Nazi-controlled Germany, basically, at this point.
Yeah.
Which they actually meet Adolf Hitler.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
It's funny. He grabs the book from Elsa, and he's dressed like a SS officer, or not an SS, just like a normal like Nazi officer.
No, it's a SS. It's an SS uniform. Yeah,
it's an SS uniform. Okay.
Yep.
And
that says a comment to him about that those are the stormtroopers and stuff like that. He says a little phrase about that.
So when they get there, they're burning books. There's this giant pile of books that are being burned, and he has the diary in his hand, and like he gets shoved into like Hitler's way. Yeah. And Hitler looks at him, grabs the diary, and you're like, oh shit, this man's gonna chuck it into the fire. Opens it up and signs it and gives it back to him. So then they get on a Oh yeah, during all this, I forgot when this happens, but basically, oh yeah, this is when they're in the castle. They're like, who has some of the missing pages? And Indy's like, Marcus has some of the missing pages, and that he's super smart. And then it turns out that Marcus is a dumbass and gets himself captured by
Yeah.
the Nazis.
Yep.
And we also have a returning character from
Sala.
Raiders, which is
Yeah.
Sala. Yeah.
Which is Rye Davis.
Yeah.
It's I mean, come on, Gimli. You can't go wrong with the man. That he's a legend in my book. Like when he played Sliders, so many other movies that he's in that's just fantastic.
It's incredible to think that he is Gimli. Like, it's just crazy.
Oh, but you can't think of anybody else other than him playing that role now.
Oh no, yeah,
Incredible.
for sure.
He does such a great job that he left the other Hobbit, the other what do you call it, dwarfs. Like, that's not a dwarf. Where's Gimli? Give me Gimli.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Oh my god. So yeah, basically they get on a Zeppelin and they get caught.
Oh, I forgot
And
about that scene.
yeah, well they don't get caught. Actually, they do get caught, but the Zeppelin takes off, and then eventually the Zeppelin figures out that they're on it, and it starts turning around back to Germany.
Yeah,
So they get on a biplane and they get the hell out of there.
which is a really cool sequence.
But Sean Connery proceeds to shoot the back of the plane by accident. You remember that?
The tail of the plane, yeah, and it can't maneuver.
And then he's like, Indy's like, what happened, Dad? And he's like, they shot us. Oh my god! And then,
the best part of the movie.
yeah, they basically they're catching up with well, actually, how does he get? Let me read a little bit here.
Oh no, I'm talking about the best part of the movie is definitely the Canyon of the Crescent Moon.
So there's the sequence where like there's the tank battle when Indy's on the horse and he's like and Marcus
I forgot about that.
And his dad are captured, and then he fights the dude, and then the tank like fucking falls over the cliff. But then they actually find the Canyon of the Crescent Moon, the actual like entrance, and they get captured again. They get captured a lot in this movie. And
it's all Dad's fault too.
Dad's an idiot, and basically, they're like, all right, we need to get through these booby traps. But they're
which
like,
is really cool. And these like the cool thing about Indiana Jones is the booby traps. It is so fascinating, and I love to do like one of these escape rooms that have the Indiana Jones booby traps in them. I would love to do that because that would probably be one of the most interesting escape rooms ever done.
Yeah, so
get on that, guys.
I would definitely do that too. So basically they're like, all right, Indy or your dad take us through the booby traps, and they're like, no. So Donovan is like, all right, cool. I'll have leverage, and he shoots Sean Connery, and he's like, all right, if you want to save your dad, you got to find the Holy Grail, and bring it back, because now your dad's gonna die. He's like, all right. So he goes in and he gets through the first booby trap, which are a bunch of like saw blades.
Yeah.
And then the second one is basically there's a canyon, there's a drop, but he has to get to the other side. And it turns out that there's like this optical illusion walkway between both entrances.
Which in reality, guys, that works on film, but it doesn't work in real life.
Yeah, in real life, that would
see that there's not a drop off.
Yeah.
It's kind of bullshit.
It is kind of bullshit, but whatever. Because if you look down, you'd be like, oh shit, I can't see down here. There has to be a walkway or something. But it's cool because basically the journal tells him you have to take a leap of faith. So he goes in and
just make sure you choose to leap of faith in the right point in the chasm,
And that's it, right? That's the only two. Wait,
no, there's more.
Yeah, no. So they get into the final room where there's a knight.
Yes.
He is the guardian of the Holy Grail, and he has been there for He's a Templar Knight. He's been there for hundreds of years. And the last thing that they have to do is basically choose the right cup,
Yep.
the holy. And there's like, I don't know, hypothetically, there's like 30 or 40 cups in the room. And Donovan,
there's a lot of shit in there.
There's a whole lot of cups. And Donovan comes up and he chooses the most elaborate, ornate cup out of all of them, proceeds to dunk it in the water, and he takes a sip out of it. And the Templar Knight says, "You chose wrong.
You chose poorly."
Yeah, you chose poorly.
Which has become like, it was probably the first meme ever made into a meme, because that started going around in the 90s. I remember that.
Yeah, and basically Donovan proceeds to age extremely rapidly.
Yeah.
And dies, basically. And so it's up to Elsa and Indy to find the actual Holy Grail. And ironically, it's the most non-ornate cup out of all of them.
They actually discover it because he's a carpenter, so they look for something made out of wood, which makes sense.
It makes sense. It's the most, like, all the other ones have gems and stuff on it, and this one's like just a normal cup.
Yeah,
you know?
Which is what it would be if you think about it. He's a poor guy and just eating with a bunch of friends.
Which, it's funny, when I was watching the movie, I was like, so Indy grabs the cup, dunks it in the water, and takes a sip, and the Templar Knight tells him, "You chose right," or "You chose correctly." I don't even know what that's.
I don't remember the exact phrase that he uses.
English. I don't even know if I speak it. Ironically, doesn't that mean that Indy has longer than usual life?
Not necessarily.
Because he drank out of the Holy Grail.
I think it has to be a special water or something. I don't know.
So then they take the cup back. They pour some water on Sean Connery's wounds. It heals him. And
also, he didn't drink that much, though. He just took a sip of it, didn't he?
Yeah, he just takes a sip. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it extends his life, but not.
Maybe that's why isn't he like 90 something in the Young Adventures of Indiana Jones?
Probably. I don't remember. But I mean, he has Hobbit lifespan instead of a normal human lifespan.
So the Templar says one thing to them. He goes, "You cannot take the cup outside of this place." Right. So Elsa gets the cup from Indy after he heals his dad, and she's like, "Indy, let's go. We have the cup. We can have everlasting life. We're set." Yeah. And she proceeds to cross over the crest on the floor, which is basically the boundary.
Yep.
And then all hell breaks loose. The thing, there's like an earthquake. Yeah. There's an earthquake. The earth splits, and Elsa falls into a chasm trying to grab the Holy Grail, because she's, instead of grabbing Indy with both hands, she's only grabbing him by one, so she slips and she falls and dies.
Yeah.
And then Indy slips. His dad is trying to grab him, and he's trying to grab the Holy Grail, and then Indy's dad is like, "Leave it. Don't worry about it." So he gets Indy out, and then they ride into the sunset, literally.
Literally. Which is a fantastic way to end it.
Yes. And I actually forgot about the scene when we were talking about the plot. I actually really like the scene. I don't know if you remember it. When they're on the Zeppelin, and Indy tries to talk to his dad, and he asks him why they never had a relationship and why he never spoke to him.
Yes, that is actually a really good scene.
And he tells him
any of the interactions between Sean Connery and Harrison Ford is fantastic.
Yeah. They definitely it comes across that they are like a son and dad.
Oh yeah. You're talking about two phenomenal actors pretty much at the peak of their amazingness when it comes to acting, and they really do portray these characters 100%, and there's no fault in their character whatsoever.
And it's interesting, that scene, because he tells him, he's like, excuse me, you never really talked to me as a child, you just ordered me around. And he basically, it comes across that once that his mom died, everything just changed between them both. And that scene is nice. It's nice to have those quiet moments in these crazy films and stuff like that. But
It's intense, like, and this film definitely it's more hitting home than anything else than any of the other films, and it kind of plays into the family role a lot more,
yeah,
which kind of
yeah.
goes for the sympathy card and all that side of it. Which, not to say that it overdoes it in any way or form, because it really does not. It plays it in a way that it's realistic, and it plays it true to the characters.
But this is the final of the trilogy at the moment. This was the final Indiana Jones film until 19 years later when
Yes.
when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out. But that's a movie
That's
for
going to be
another
for
day.
another episode. But
Yeah,
the reason we're going to leave it for another episode is because William Phoenix, our
co-host.
yeah, I was going to say that, but yeah, our other co-host on Man Bites Film hates this film for some reason.
I don't know
So
why.
we are going to use this as a tool. And since he never listens to the show, he's not going to know this, but you guys will. And so stay tuned for our show on Fridays, and you're going to hear him and us pontificate about this film soon.
You really like that word.
Oh, I love that word. It's a fantastic word.
It's a good word. But honestly, I thank Indiana Jones because Indiana Jones, for me, opened up a lot of uh, venues for like games and stuff. Like I feel like without Indiana Jones, games like Tomb Raider wouldn't exist and Uncharted wouldn't exist, which are basically the same thing. They're Uncharted is a cool dude that raids tombs and is a murderer. He like kills a lot of people to be a good guy.
Yeah.
And Tomb Raider's the same thing, but it's a girl. Instead, it's Lara Croft, and she's super badass. And I feel like we wouldn't have those really cool games without Indiana Jones at the end of the day.
There's a
And
lot of aspects that it started Spielberg. It really kind of shot Spielberg's career into the stratosphere. And we wouldn't have modern cinema if it wasn't for Spielberg. So a lot of the modern films that we see, the blockbuster film, all that
yeah,
stuff is because of these three films. These three films were in the pinnacle of filmmaking for our generations, and it launched films that we know and love in the 90s and 2000s. And if it wasn't for these films and this trilogy and some other trilogies, we wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have those type of films that kind of challenge the status quo and go against the grind and really kind of go out of it goes out into the unusual side of filmmaking, which is interesting. And they did it within the studio side. So because a lot of films that were really challenging the status quo and all that stuff were done in the 60s and 70s, the studio system kind of tightened their belt buckles a lot in the
mhm.
late 70s and early 80s. So that's why you see like just pure like hard American action movies like The Predator and Rambo and all these action movies that they turned into like a million films, and the horror films and all that
Yeah,
stuff. The studios were going for bank, and they really weren't going out on a limb in any way or form like they did in the 60s and 70s. And Spielberg found a way to go out on a limb inside the studio system, which was fascinating because that opened the door in the 90s for a lot of the films that we saw and a lot of the changes in filmmaking styles, which is great.
honestly, the last thing I want to say is I love Indiana Jones. Everything about it, the character Indy, to me personally, I think he's a very well likable character.
Oh yeah,
Um,
technically when I think of Harrison Ford, I think of Indiana Jones, not Han Solo. But
I do too. I agree with you there, and that's coming from a person that loves Star Wars, and I think of him as Indiana Jones, not Han Solo. Um, he's a likable character. It's somebody that like you wish you could be. He's so cool.
yeah,
He's an
oh,
archaeologist.
he's
He's super.
cool. He's like this playboy, but also a very fun and down to earth type of guy. So
Yeah,
it's who you
and
aspire to be.
everything about the movies is fantastic. You go on this adventure with him and the other characters, and then you hear the John Williams score, and every time that his theme comes on, the dun 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 dun, like
Ah,
I get goosebumps, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. And
yeah,
every time I hear that, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for an adventure.
yeah.
I will continue to watch the three of them. Maybe the fourth one. I haven't seen the fourth one in a long time. I don't hate it. I definitely don't hate that movie, but
Okay, so let's give these movies a rating overall because we gave Raiders both a 10. How about Temple of Doom for you?
I think I'm gonna go down a notch, a point every time. So Temple 9
I agree with that. 9 as well for me.
and Last Crusade an 8.
Last Crusade, I'm gonna give it a 6. I
Okay.
really didn't care
Okay.
that much for it. Now Crystal Skull, I'm gonna go ahead and give my rating for it. I give it
Okay.
a 7.
Yeah, I'd probably go with a 7 too. I literally go down a point every movie. Like I said, they get worse and worse every. The next iteration is definitely worse than the last, but again, it's Indiana Jones, man. They're fun. Like,
And supposedly they're making a next one, which
which I have no idea how the hell that's gonna work because Harrison Ford's old.
dude, they're gonna have to pass the torch to somebody. That's for sure.
Well, that's what they were trying to do with Shia LaBeouf, but he's not coming back.
Yeah, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with him not.
I'm
I
fine
really,
with that too. Nothing against his character in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It's just Harrison Ford is. Let's find out how old Harrison Ford is right now.
yeah. Oh, he's old, dude. That's it. He's done. Like,
Harrison Ford is 76 years old. He'll be turning 77 this year,
yeah,
dude. And like, it's been 11 years since Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I think the next one isn't even coming out till like next year or the year after that, something
yep.
like that. So yeah,
I
they
don't think
definitely
they've announced much about it, honestly.
no. They said that they're going to start filming it soon, but definitely they need to pass the torch on soon, or just end the franchise. It is what it is, you know.
Hey, you know what? They're first of all, they're
Yeah.
bringing back Jonathan Kasdan, so he's writing it,
Yeah.
and Philip Kaufman is actually writing it too. That's interesting.
Interesting.
And I don't think there's anybody else. The cast only Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones 5 supposedly has a 2021 release.
Yeah, July 9th, 2021. And it's in development currently. So
Jesus Christ. I feel like that movie's in development hell, and I don't think it's going to be made.
I really hope they do. Supposedly it's starting in the spring of 2019, the filmmaking.
Okay.
So
Mind
I
you,
think
I don't know. I guess people probably said that about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. They're like, oh my God, it's been 20 years and, or 19 years, and now it's
you know
coming
what?
out.
People criticize it and will always criticize remakes and continuation of the story and all that stuff. Just enjoy it for what it is. It's a serial film, and these are not meant to be taken serious. Just enjoy it for what it is.
Exactly.
That's all you gotta go with it. Like
Exactly.
there's movies that you could turn your brain off and don't need to be these masterpieces of cinema. They really don't.
Yeah,
Right?
then,
The fact that some of them were is an exception to the rule, and doesn't mean that it's going to repeat itself. It's the same thing with Marvel movies. I give it a lot of shit, but they're enjoyable movies. They're fun, but they don't deserve awards. They really don't, for the most part.
yeah.
So
Well,
it's
did Raiders win awards?
yeah, it did. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's certain films that will win awards because they're fantastic and won awards in the 80s and 90s, but doesn't mean that all of them need to.
I agree. I agree.
They're just fun movies. That's my final take on Indiana Jones. Overall, the story and everything is just fine. And come on,
Definitely, and I will continue to watch these movies. And
now I want to go watch the movies.
and if I have children, I will definitely be showing them Indiana Jones. And I gotta go play this game because honestly, there's also a game that came out more recent, like in the early 2000s on like Xbox and PS2.
Yes, there is.
But yeah, honestly, thank you for joining us on this little adventure of us talking. I wouldn't say reviewing, but talking about the original 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Would you say pontificating?
Pontificating, that's such a good word. Yeah, for this special journey and for the second episode of Candlelit Blowjobs, and there will be many more of these endeavors. My girlfriend's like laugh. She's like, what am I getting myself into?
Oh, trust me, I ask that question every day, and so does William.
All right, guys. So as always, thank you, Lewis.
Thank you, Brandon.
I am Brandon, and keep those candles on for next time. We'll see you guys later.
Bath salts.
And bath salts.
Can't forget the bath salts.